At 5:10 in the morning, when most people are still asleep, a fire broke out in a dormitory filled with students.
Susulan kebakaran yang berlaku di Pusat Tahfiz Darul Quran Iktifakiyah.
Apakah terakhir daripada anaknya yang terkorban?
Sebab ejek mengejek di antara pelajar tahfiz itu.
Hi, excuse me, may I ask you some questions?
Yeah, sure.
Have you heard about the Tahfiz fire case in Kuala Lumpur back in 2017?
Yes, I've heard about it, but I'm not sure actually what happened.
I see, because many people remember it as an arson case, but do you think the tragedy was caused by the fire alone?
I'm not sure. I think there are many factors involved, especially regarding the safety and responsibilities.
To understand what exactly happened in this case, we'll pass this to Ifa.
Back in 2017, at a place called Pusat Tahfiz Darul Quran Iktifakiyah in Kuala Lumpur, there was a fire. You might remember it, right? 23 people died, and most of them were students asleep in their dormitories. And you know what started it all? A disagreement. There was a clash between some local teenagers and a few of the students. There was smoking, maybe some harsh words, the kind of thing that happens sometimes, right? But here's the thing. Instead of cooling down, walking away or talking it through, those teenagers come back later and they set the building on fire. I keep thinking about the escalation, from hurt pride to revenge to tragedy. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many conflicts start small and then just spiral? How silence or pride or the wrong influence can turn something fixable into tragedy. This wasn't just a crime, it was a breakdown in communication, in community, and in empathy. And those metal bars on the windows, they didn't just trap the students inside. In a way, they're a symbol of how trapped everyone was, in their anger, in their pain, in a situation nobody knew how to stop. That's what I've been thinking about, how a spark, whether it's a word, a look, a moment of pride, can become a fire, and how sometimes the real tragedy isn't just what was lost, but what could have been stopped. So Ruby, what do you think about the factors contributing to this tragedy?
For my part, I will explain the factors that contributed to the conflict in the tragic Pusat Tahfiz fire where 21 students and 2 teachers lost their lives. Conflicts rarely happen because of just one cause. They usually arise from a combination of human, organizational, and situational factors. The first factor is poor communication. Before and after the incident, information about the building safety, fire exits, and the emergency procedures was unclear. This caused confusion, assumptions, and disagreements among parents, authorities, and the school. Secondly, the factor that contributed to conflict is their differences in interests and goals. Parents prioritize safety, while some Tahfiz operators focused on operating cost or independence. The government agency aimed to enforce regulations. These conflicting objectives created tension and blame. Next, I'll pass this to AFIQ.
Is it on already? Safety starts with honesty. The school was operating without a fire safety certificate. The building was changed without following the law. In the construction world, skipping this rule to save time or money is a failure of duty. We must never allow these people to live in a building that hasn't been proven safe. The dormitory design was a death trap. There was only one exit and the window were blocked by a permanent metal grill. When the fire started, students couldn't get out and the firemen couldn't get in. Most victims died from breathing in toxic smoke. A safety building must have clear path out and a proper air ventilation to keep smoke away. Safety is a human right, not a luxury. Whether a school is rich or poor, every student deserves to be protected. As a community, we must stop staying silent when we see unsafe building. We have a shared responsibility to protect our children. The lesson is clear. We cannot cut the corners on safety. We must build with integrity to ensure a tragedy like this never happen again.
Thank you, Afiq. Next, I will discuss the proposed solution and key lessons learned from the Tahfiz fire tragedy. The first and most critical solution is improving physical safety infrastructure. The high number of deaths clearly shows the consequences of ignoring the uniform building bylaws. Fixed iron grills should never be used in dormitories. Instead, breakaway grills or emergency latches that can be opened from inside must be installed. Secondly, stronger regulation and enforcement are required. A whitelisting system should be introduced where only schools that pass regular inspections by local authorities and bomba are allowed to operate. However, enforcement alone is not enough. Many Tahfiz schools operate with limited funding. Therefore, a safety upgrading fund should be established to help schools install fire alarms, upgrade wiring, and meet safety standards instead of forcing them to shut down. Thirdly, prevention cannot be limited to the school itself. Since the incident involved youth that affected by substance abuse, the community must play a role through mentorship programs, community policing, and cooperation with anti-drug agencies. Finally, school must conduct fire drills at least twice a year, including night drills. There are several important lessons learned from this tragedy. First, security must never override safety. Protecting property should not come at the cost of human life. Second, institutions must never operate without full safety approval. Safety regulations are not paperwork, they are life-saving requirements. Lastly, preparedness matters. In emergency situations, calm and trained responses can mean the difference between life and death. Finally, can you help us to conclude this case study, RHUBENISSH?
Yes, sure, Jun. In conclusion, the Tahfiz fire tragedy was more than just a fire. It exposed weaknesses in communication, trust, leadership, and responsibility among different parties. This incident reminds us that safety, transparency, and cooperation are not optional. They are essential to protect lives and prevent history from repeating itself. Thank you.